Hello and welcome back to Angie B Crafts. Thank you for joining me. So today's video is the Angie B and Dawnie D Create collaboration thing that I do every month with Dawn Ditchburn from Shiny Silver Treasure. This month was Dawn's turn to set the challenge, and I was absolutely terrified because last month, unbeknownst to me, I set a challenge that Dawn didn't like, and it wasn't intentional. The challenge was to complete a piece with the things that I sent through to her, but the focal colour had to be green. I didn't know that Dawn had an issue with green. So this has caused some hilarity and some threats. She's quite a threatening person, is our lovely Dawn. She seems quite pleasant, not so much at times. So this is the card I've got, so I'll read this out to you. Angela, here's our next challenge. Please note how nice I've been. Don't worry, I will repay you for the green in time. How evil does that sound? And when you least expect it. And then she's put he, like an evil laugh. How mean is that? Okay, so using the bits I've sent, create either a book cover or a journal page. You can use any mediums you want, but you must include all of the sentiments. We both have different words. Have fun and remember that one day green will come back to haunt you. Dawn, nice? No, she's being mean. She's threatening. So this is a gorgeous card that she's made. I do love these old Victorian images. I don't know if this is one of the Tim Holtz ones or not, but I know that he does ones called paper dolls. I've never used them. I've seen these. She sent me these through in a previous challenge, but I love this. I'm guessing this is one of the how many cards can I create set, because Dawn does these challenges. She's amazing at creating loads and loads of cards, and I think this is one of them. So thank you, Dawn, for this challenge. So Dawn's page is Shiny Silver Treasure. If you haven't already signed up to it or had a look at it, please pop over. So she'll be putting this challenge up at the same time as me. We both put them up on usually the first of the month at 6 PM and see what we both do. So this is what she sent me. Now when I first got this I thought, oh, that's really cool. I don't use a lot of tissue paper, so this is a challenge for me. I've started a little bit, so I've got a couple of bottles here that I've just started learning to decorate them with tissue paper, but it's not something I've used a lot of. And I thought, oh, she sent me a blank sheet as well. Now when I've looked more closely, if I grab, can I find some black card? If I grab some black card, it's actually white images. It's the same image in white. How cool is that? And it even tells me which way it is because it's got words on, so I can figure out which way around it goes. But I just thought that was really, really cool, because I'm thinking that when I use these, the tissue paper itself will disappear into the background. So yeah, I like that. It's certainly interesting. So the other thing that she sent paper wise was this gorgeous piece. I mean, I don't actually want to do anything to it because it's beautiful and it's really thick as well. It's a nice thick paper. It's got a couple of dials on it, and it's from Art Technique paper set, Maremi's Small Arts. Now I've not heard of this, Maremi's Small Art. Don't know that company at all. So I've got a piece of A4 paper. I then have these three sentiments, which I have to include all of. Victorian wonderment and curiosities. Fabulous, fabulous words. Love them. No issues at all with that. She then sent these. Now I've got a set of these similar, but mine are all the same. These ones are all different, but I absolutely love the fact that they're frames. So yeah, I'm thinking we can have words poking out and underneath, and yeah, a lovely little tag. It's a balsa wood tag. Sorry, my mat's moving. Then she sent me these three little flowers. Now I'm not a floral girl, but I think if I grunge these up and give them a bit of texture, I can get away with them. She's then sent me this, which is decorative chipboard from Scrapiniec, which it's got PL at the end, so I'm wondering if it's from Poland. I don't know. So this, if I just get this out, is so delicate. So it comes out. I'm not going to take it out till I'm ready to use it actually, but you can see there that is titchy tiny delicate, but then you have a stencil as well. I like that. And a couple of doilies. And they're two different patterns. Oh no, the same pattern doily. So a couple of doilies as well. So there's plenty to be working there with. Now I've decided, and this is as far as I've gotten, I've decided I am going to make a book cover. So this is my book cover, which is just some grey board. It's A5 in size. First things first, let's slap on some good old-fashioned gesso. I'm just trying to find a brush suitable for gesso. Right, I've actually packed a whole load of brushes away because of the move, and the ones I've got left out, none of them are big gesso brushes. Right, I might do this a different way. If in doubt, use a palette knife. So this is a different way of applying gesso, because my brushes, this is the biggest brush I've got. That's going to take a long time. So I'm going to slap the gesso on with a palette knife. I always forget you can do this, but it's quite a nice way. It also adds a little bit of texture, but it's a quick way of getting gesso down as a base layer. So I say it every time I use it, gesso is brilliant. It is your best base layer. It stops you using your expensive paint that's then going to get sucked in to the porous surface that you're adding the gesso onto. It unifies. If you have several different layers of different materials, it unifies how they'll then react with colour. It's fabulous stuff. I do love it. So I'm putting this down. I'm not sure that it's going to stay white, but I just wanted a layer of gesso down, and I like the fact that I've now got the texture as well because I've applied it with the palette knife. Interesting start. So Dawn's going to be super shocked because I'm usually at the last minute going, oh, I'm not sure I'm going to get my video up on time because I'm always last minute at doing them. But this is, the stuff arrived yesterday and I'm doing the video today. So I'm just going to dry this off and then I will come back and we'll see where we go next. Here is our nice dried base. So you can see it's got a lot of texture already on there, but I want to add in some colour. Now I have managed to keep out some of my paints, not a lot of them, but some of them, and I've also kept out a little brayer. So I think we can have some fun brayering on some colours. I'm liking turquoise at the minute. Now I know I've just used these recently, but I just really like them. But I think we can add on a little bit of purple and a little bit of the dark blue. I do like this night. It's fabulous. Now you'll note I'm not using sprays. I am going for a different effect. So I'm just going to get my little mat and then I can put my paints onto here and brayer them then onto my piece. So this one is Peacock. It's a fabulous Dina Wakley paint. I've only got the little bottles. I've got a couple of bigger bottles of the Dina Wakley paints, but I just love them. I love the little bottles. Now, true to form, I haven't cleaned my brayer. I clean it off as I use it, but you'll see it's already showing little hints of other colours. That's fine by me. I absolutely love it when I get other colours that I'm not expecting. If you are fussy about your colours being exactly what you want, then just clean your stuff in between. I'm just not a cleaner-upperer in any sense. I'm terrible. I don't like cleaning at all in my craft room or in my home or my car. My father-in-law gets in my car every so often, and when he does, I mean he hasn't done for a long while because of lockdown, but prior to lockdown he would get in and he'd go, have you dusted this recently? No. And then he disappears in. It's quite helpful because he then disappears into the house and comes back out with his little duster and dusts all the dashboard, which is quite nice. So this is Blackberry, again, the Dina Wakley Media acrylics. Do love them. So I'm going to add a little bit less of this. I'm going to go in both directions. I'm not going to just stick with vertical or horizontal. I'm going to do both. Oh, I'm liking this. Liking it. Now let's have a look at what colours we had on here. Remind yourself, Angela. Absolutely nothing of what you've put on. Right, so the dark, we're going to have to bring in the blue because the blue is there. So the dark blue is in keeping with this piece of paper, and I do want to use this piece of paper because I think it's a bit beautiful, and I'm trying to get better at not hoarding paper just because it's beautiful, although that seems a reasonable reason to hoard it to me. Right, so we'll just darken up certain parts of it. I'm loving the texture that you get. It's a really nice way of applying gesso, and it's not something I've done for ages, so I'm actually quite pleased that I've applied the gesso with the palette knife. And it's quite nice to have the challenge of not having what you normally have around. It's a bit scary when you're starting to plan things, but hey, you can make do with what you've got. Oh yes, I'm liking this. A little bit up here, and we'll bring it down this way a bit. I'm thinking we might need a little bit of brown on here just to marry into these colours, so we're getting it a little bit more in those colours. We can always add colour onto that paper as well, so don't panic if you're not quite the colour that you're after. But I want a little bit of brown on here. Let me see what I've got. Oh no, this is penny, but this, I don't know if it actually says it is. This is shimmery, I do believe. Yeah, it is. I love it. I've only recently got this one, and it's fabulously shimmery. It's the only one of Dina Wakley's that I've got that's shimmery, and it's beautiful. It really is beautiful. So we can start adding that on as well. Sometimes it's nice to work just with a brayer because you're not as accurate with your placement using a brayer, because it's obviously wider than a brush, and it just gives you a very, very different look. And then you can do things like this, just run the colour over the whole page and you get a hint of it everywhere. And I just think that's a really, I want some more that's this bright, but I think it's a nice way of working. I do like my brayer. The main place I use my brayer is my gel press, but I do like applying other things like this. Let's have a little bit more down here. Now, just because I'm using the brayer doesn't mean I can't now come in to get more specific colour in, and I am going to actually. There's that little brush. I just want to get some of this a little bit darker with the brown. Oh, a bit too much out there. Oh dear, we'll have to use more. Don't worry, I do have some journals to hand. So you can see you get a very different depth of colour when you're applying with a brush, because you get much more. You get much more colour on. So it's actually then overarching the colours that are underneath it. With the brayer, it picks up the top layer because it's solid. So it picks up the top layer and leaves the other layers below. So the other colours come through. So I'm just thickening up some of these areas. Yeah, I'm liking that. I'm liking the fact that these colours are now coming in. So we've got the blue, we've got some of the white, we've got some of the brown. I think we maybe need something a little bit darker in the browny kind of tone. So I'm thinking, oh, I haven't packed it. Excellent, I thought I had. So this is my box of inks with a few other bits thrown in for good measure, and I believe in here, yes, I have a brown, and I also have a black. Oops. So I think we can use them. So these are Eyes Ink, Adeline Eyes Ink inks, pigment inks. They're fab. They are fab. Now these are new. This is their first outing. Actually no, I tell a lie, I have used some of them. I've not used the black, but I have used the brown previously. So I'm actually going to drop that near, but not on, each of these in different amounts. And then I'm going to add in some water, and that way we can get some movement of them, but we still get a nice big coloured bit in the middle. And then I'm going to do a titchy tiny blob of the black on top. Yep. I'm scared to squeeze. Let's try that again. For some reason it's not coming out. Right, we'll have to do this with a brush, I think. It's not coming out. It's possible that it's slightly clogged. So let's put some, yeah, it's not really coming out of that style, so let's pop some on here just to bring in some interest. We'll see if I can get a bit more out. The squeezy thing isn't working, don't know why, but it's not, but we can make do. So we're adding in the black just to tone in a little bit with what's going on in here. I'm going to add a little bit more water. So don't be afraid of putting the water on, because remember you've put a really good layer of gesso, so the card isn't absorbing any of this water. So now we're starting to get this nice streakiness. We've got some browns going through, some blacks going through, but we've still got that core of colour. I'm just going to put my raggy underneath so that I can tap off some of this colour. I always put my raggy underneath just because it catches it at the edge, otherwise you end up with a pooling at the edge. If you have your raggy, it just catches that edge piece and stops it pooling quite as much. Then we can go back the other way, get some drips going the other way. Oh yeah, I'm liking the way that's looking. So we've now got something that's quite grungy. I'm rather liking it. So what I'm going to do is give this a quick blast just to dry off, because there's quite a lot of pooled ink and I want it to just be dried off so that we can move on to the next stage. Here we have the nice dried off piece, and I'm thinking I actually prefer it that way up. So I need to remind myself 2 dark blues at the top and then coming this way. So what I'm thinking is I kind of want her on this side. I'm not used to using these and they're kind of scaring me a little bit. Or do I want the clowns? I actually quite like the clowns. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to go with this one. Right, so to the best of my knowledge, the best way to tear these is to just run a little bit of water on top of it so that it tears on a bit of a wonky edge. I know that works on some of mine, but I don't know whether because of the coating on this one it will work, so we shall find out. Let's see. That'll be a no. Maybe I haven't put enough water on. Bear with me, I'm just going to try it a little bit here and see. Right, it does. It just needs a bit more water. What I'm going to do is put some water on the back as well, because the back hasn't got the coating. Like I say, I'm not used to using these. I love the idea of them, but it's not something that I've ever got on involved with. So that hopefully is now sufficient. That's it, it's coming apart now. So the person that's taught me the most about this is Joanne Rowe. She's fabulous. She is the UK representative for Decoupage Queen, so it's all about the rice paper there. She's amazing with rice paper, she really is. If you've not seen Joanne doing her stuff, have a look at her Facebook page, Joanne Rowe, or at Craft of Hearts, which is her business page, and there's just some amazing videos of her doing all sorts of wonderful things with this paper. So the only reason I know anything about this is from watching Joanne, and she's an absolutely phenomenal woman as well. She's such a lovely lady, so highly recommend following her. She's a very talented lady indeed. Right, so we're getting a feathered edge, and we want the feathered edge because that makes it disappear into the surface that you're putting it on. If you have a stark edge, the stark edge is obvious when you stick it down. So I've got a bit of a tickle. I'm terrible because I talk more when I'm doing videos than I do at any other time during the day, so I tend to get a tickly throat. Note to self, talk more to the wife. And then I won't get a tickly throat on videos. Right, so we're nearly there. So just take your time with this. What I would say is hold the side that you want to keep neat and pull the other side. If you start pulling this one, you might rip across it, so you're kind of protecting it with your thumb. You can also do it sort of working on the table and pull up against your finger. So we said we wanted it that way up, and then I think that is going to go on there really, really nicely. It says, dreadfully weak, gasping, seemingly unconscious, still the heart somehow beat on. Wow, that's quite powerful, isn't it? That's really powerful. I do like that image. I'm thinking we might have it. See, I really want it on this side, but I might wrap it round a little bit. Yeah. Right, so I've got my Mod Podge ready. Get a brush. Oh, look, I've just found a bigger brush. Where's that been? I don't know. It was just sitting on my desk and I didn't see it before. So I'm going to pop some of this on here. So this Mod Podge is gloss, I believe. Or is it? No, it's a matte one. I was glad it was matte then, because I do prefer matte. Now, I had all sorts of panics about Mod Podge and gel medium and which one do I want. I know that I prefer a matte finish, but I was finding that I bought a gel medium. Oh, what brand was it? Liquitex gel medium, and it was a matte finish. But what happened was it then stayed white, and that wasn't what I wanted. I needed it to be clear, because I don't like white bits. So I'm also putting the Mod Podge onto my paper, my tissue paper. Now this is where it can all go horribly wrong, because it's such delicate paper and then you're slapping glue onto it. And in the past, this is where I've made quite a few messes. So if this goes wrong, I apologise. So yeah, I think the difficulty that I found was, what do I get? And I've made the realisation that a lot of them are very, very similar, and so just not to stress. So I just nowadays grab what I think I need at that moment, and if it's the wrong one, I'll grab something else. Generally it's grab whatever's nearest, unless it's a specific job that I need to do that needs a specific type of glue. So I've put that on in the middle, then I've worked up to the top, and now I'm just working down to the bottom, just trying to make sure there's no creases or bubbles as I go. So the fact that there's glue on both sides Means that there's a bit more moisture and a bit more manoeuvrability. Oh yes, it worked. Right, so that is on. There's the odd crinkle. I'm not worrying. I'm not stressing about a crinkle. And there's the odd little air bubble. So I'm just going to take a minute to just get rid of them, and then I'm going to come back in with the same brush and I'm going to put a layer of Mod Podge over the top, and that's just to seal it because it's so delicate you don't want it to come off, and it just means it stays put. As I say, I am no expert on this one. I've done this before and at this point ripped the paper because I've been less careful, so just continue being careful. But the other thing is that because of the type of things that you use this for, a slight tear isn't a major issue, so if you do tear it, don't panic. Any that's going over the edge, I'm just going to do with a little bit of Mod Podge going over the edge, and that will stick it down as we go along. It's not quite the same as the rice papers. This seems to have a little bit, because it's got the layer on top, it seems to react slightly differently to the rice papers that I've got, but it's still doable. I'll stick it down and it gives us a nice finished edge. And then to use this as a book cover, obviously this bit needs to be covered to get rid of the workings. So you can just do that with a little bit of paper. Nearly done. Do that top bit. Make sure all those edges have got a good seal, because the last thing you want is for it to start picking up at the edges. Oh, I like how that looks. That's a bit cool. Right, pop that in my water. So this now needs to dry. I'm not going to force dry this. I want that to dry entirely on its own. I'm going to put it onto something so this bit doesn't stick to anything. So I'm just going to balance it over here. And I'm then going to have a look at what else we have. So we have these flowers, and I want them to be in keeping. If we're going to use them, then they need to be in keeping colour wise. So let's get my mat back. Let's figure out, oh there's my brayer, figure out where I've put my brayer. I do lose things very, very quickly. And then let's bring in some of these colours. I think a little bit of the penny, so that's the one that's got the shimmer to it. And let's brayer that over the top of some of these flowers and see how it works. So these haven't been gessoed, so what's going to happen here, they're just card, and as soon as we put this on, it's just going to be inhaled to the internal fibres of the card, so it's going to dry really, really fast. I mean, that's already dry pretty much, because it's just been sucked in. The next layer is not going to dry quite so quick. So I think if we then do a layer in the night, which is this beautiful, beautiful dark blue, in the spray bottles of acrylic paint, the Dina Wakley sprays, night is one of my favourite. It just adds such an amazing tone to, even if you've got a really bright piece, the night just brings in that lovely depth to it. Love it. And it's an amazing, it's almost an indigo in its colour. Right, I think I'm going to stick a little bit of shimmer on my flower. We've already got one with shimmer, let's have another one. So this is the Calypso Teal from Delusions, and it's one of their shimmer sprays. Shimmer sprays? No, shimmer inks, paints. I'll get there. Shimmer paint. It says on the bottle, Angela, shimmer paint. Read the bottle. So I haven't cleaned my brayer in between, so you can see we're now starting to get each of the colours coming through on the other one. So this one's got some slightly darker areas, but I'm intentionally now going to start mixing the colours in, so we start getting more of this. I want it to look as varied as the background. There's one. I'm going to add some of the teal into this one, and you'll see the difference, because this is gone, the teal has gone onto the creamy white colour, and on this the teal is going over the blue, so you get a very different look. There we go. And then I want a little bit more of the teal to go onto the brown one, and I will be coming back to the brown as well and adding that to the others. So we get all three colours on each of them. Oh, we've got a little bit of that there already still. Already still? That makes no sense. Apologies for anyone who's particularly good at English. Because apparently what I'm saying is baloney. Oh, I'm liking how these are looking. Right, let's get a little bit of penny to go onto these two. And I've also got a thought that maybe a little bit of, oh, I've just noticed the name of the black pigment ink. It's called Caviar. What a lovely name. I haven't put anywhere near enough out there. Let's plop a little bit more out. There we go. See, I'm thinking, sorry, I got completely sidetracked then. I'm thinking of putting a little bit of the caviar in the middle to act as the stamen. So there we go, we've got the three different ones, but we've put a different colour as the base colour, so they all look a little bit different. But what I'm now thinking is that I can layer them up. I'm not as keen on that, so I want that one at the back. Like so, and like so. I don't know. I don't have a ball tool to hand, so I'm going to see if I can use just the end of my brush. So this is my Crafty Devil's Tacky Glue. I quite like this one. I don't think it's going to last too long. I've not had it long and it's already quite a lot of it has disappeared on various projects. But I like how it works. Right, so as a non-flowery girl, using a flower is quite miraculous. There we go. So that just needs to settle down. Right, so let's bring this in and decide where we want this. I actually quite like that just at the bottom bit there. I like the it reminds me of the carriage in Cinderella. That's what comes to mind when I see that. But I do think it needs some colour. And I am actually going to bring in my sprays now, just for this one piece tea we're going to have. So I haven't gessoed this up, you saw that. I've just taken it straight as a piece of chipboard. It goes very, very soft when you spray it. So I'm going to immediately dry it off, just so that it actually gets firmer again before I try and move it about. Right, so that's now a little bit firmer. Okay. So I'm going to pop that to one side. I am going to get one of my art journals just to mop this up because I don't want to waste it. I love these little art journals, they're so handy for mopping up. They really are, they're brilliant. That is a really lovely colour. I love these inks. Love, 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 love them. Right. So now, we've got most of that up, so that's enough for me. I'm happy with that. Give that a quick wipe. get rid of what's left and pop it to one side. So this is still really delicate, but I quite like that. I think that's quite a nice little touch, and what I'll probably do is add something metallic onto it as well. Right, let's get a brush that we can use with our Mod Podge. This isn't going to need a lot of glue, so I'm just really gently popping some on the back of it. She says, I'm going to end up breaking this, I think. No, you're not. You're going to make it work, Angela. It's very, very delicate. It's gorgeous. Gorgeous. Yep, that'll do me. I think that's going to sit down there quite nicely. Fabulous. So we're starting to get there. Where did I put that flower? Oh, there's the flower. So here we have the flower. Not sure about the flower. So let's see where we're going to put these. Victorian Curiosities, and then Wonderment up at the top. What about Wonderment across the flower? No, don't like that. Wonderment here. Or, oh, I like that. What else do we have? Now I don't have to use all of these, luckily, but I would, I think, like to frame her face. But I think I want to change, obviously change the colour of that because it's not in keeping. If I turn it over, what I can do is spray it, and if we don't like it, then we don't have to use it on this project. Pop that back up there because it's still a bit damp. Bring this back in. I'm going to spray it with the same colour as I sprayed the little heart. So I've not stuck these down yet, but I've coloured up my frame, and I'm thinking that looks quite nice. Just framing her face a little bit, but I think it needs a bit more depth. So I'm going to root out some of my texture paste, and I'm going to add texture to all those things. So we'll pop this to one side again and we'll get some texture paste. So the texture paste that I've chosen is Pretty Gritty Granite paste, and it's quite a nice gritty kind of texture but has a hint of a shimmer. Let's get a little palette knife. Let's add some texture to these things. So I didn't want to go with white for the simple reason I don't want to have to respray things. So I've added that in there. So you can see now that has got a much more defined statement. I'm purposely just dabbing it about a bit just to raise up some pieces. And what I'm also going to do is use my finger to add some texture onto these words. Now I know I said I was thinking of leaving these the same colour, but I'm now not sure that I will. I think I might give them a quick spray. I absolutely love the concept of spraying things. If you think about how long it would take you on a word like this to cover it with a colour, if you were having to use a paintbrush, it would take ages. But with the sprays, it's done, over and done with really, really fast. Okay. So on some of these, so on the flower and on the frame, I'm actually leaving the colour as it is. I'm not going to change the colour of the paste. That's not strictly speaking true, actually. I am going to change the colour, but I'm going to change it with some form of gilding product. There's a hard piece in there. Let's just get that off. We don't want that because it won't stick. I want the bits that'll stick. You'll notice I'm being very good and I'm not sticking my finger straight into it, because I've discovered that sometimes when you do that in some products they can go mouldy and you end up having to bin them. So I'm now being extra careful with all of my products just to prevent that from happening. So if you do ever find that something's gone mouldy, and it might not be that you've not used it or anything, because I've had it happen with stuff that I've not had for long and that I've been using regularly, and I've suddenly opened it one day and it started to go mouldy. And it is to do with the fact that you've got all sorts of bacteria on your finger and you're dunking it into it. This is what I've been told. So I'm being very good and not sticking my finger in, which is really hard. I know I'm sticking this back in, but I'm then taking it straight back out again with the product on, so I'm not leaving anything behind. So for this, we have the nice brown background. We're now going to add this on. I'm not putting it all over, I'm putting it on a lot of it. And it's just going to give us some texture. And then when we put some gilding product on, it will look super duper. I think it will anyway. We shall see. We shall see. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go around the edges of this with a pen. I'm going to get these all dried off, and then I'll come back to you to use the gilding products. So I will see you shortly. So all these pieces have now been dried and I've gone around these edges, and what I would say to you is don't do what I've just done and try and go around the edges once it's together, because it's really difficult. I've had to do some running repairs with some additional blue paint to cover up some marks that I've managed to put on. So do it on the back side coming forward before you stick it all together. Makes it a lot easier, just for your knowledge. So we also have these fabulous sentiments, which I've not added any extra colour to, but what I am going to do is grab, this is my gilding box, and I'm thinking we've got a blackish colour. That blue's a bit too vibrant. Oh, bronze might work, metal might work. I think, that might work. Right, so we have several colours here. Let's see which ones we want to go for. So the ones that I've chosen are the Pretty Whipped Mousses, Pretty Gets Gritty Pretty Whipped Mousses. These are a relatively new product for Pretty Gets Gritty. I think they were only released last month, and they're kind of cool. They are kind of cool. That's got lots of other paint on it. Come on, wash your brush, Angela. There we are. Then we have a clean brush to start with. So what we're going to do, I'm going to bring my mat back in at the side of me, because I'm going to use it to actually put the colour onto, again, rather than going direct from the pot onto the piece. What I want to do, I'm going to start with the colour that's in the lid, because there's shed loads there. I'm going to pop it on here and just kind of, when Lynette from Pretty Gets Gritty does this, she calls it scruffling. So you just pat it out, so you've just got a really small layer onto your brush, and then just rub it over. So I put way too much out. Isn't scruffling a fab word though? And she calls her brush her scruffle brush. So I'm going to do the same with each of these. So instead of adding specific colour on, as in spraying, what I'm going to do is add the colour using these pastes. They're kind of cool. I'm going to be adding more than one colour, don't worry, they're not all just going to suddenly be this kind of grey tone. It's like a gunmetal grey. It's a lovely colour, this. Rather like it. So I got my stash of these when they were on offer on Hochanda, and they're brilliant. I do really like them. I've not had any problems with them thus far, so long may that continue. So I've purposely not gone all around on the frame. I've left some of the brown there because we put that brown there, we want that in the background, but on this one I'm quite happy for it to disappear. Not bothered about the colour of the wood staying. Right, I'm going to get one of my mop-up pages and I'm just going to do some scruffling over the top of it just so that I use it up. So you can see when you do it on a page, it's really scruffly. You can see where that word comes from. Right, I'm just going to give my brush a quick rinse, because I did actually put the darker colour on first, which means when I put the paler colour on, it's going to take on some of that colour if I don't wash it. I'm thinking if we look at this colour, let me take the lid off, then you can see it better. I love this colour. Can you tell it's the one that's got least in it? But I think that's in keeping, so I think if we have a hint of that, so we only want a tiny little bit of this. So I'm literally just putting a tiny bit on, and then I'm just going to scruffle in with it and just add it on. And I'm going to do it just on some areas. So whereas I did the first one all over, this is going to be just on a few areas here and there, as opposed to the whole thing. One of the things that you'll find with any time you have words that are MDF, I mean, I am an MDF fiend, I love my MDF, but when you have MDF words, they tend to have very, very delicate connections between the letters, so you just have to be a little bit careful with them. And if you're doing something like this, just maybe be more delicate than you would be with something like, say, the frame. Now I don't have a purpley colour, but I do have a blue, and I do have, I think, yes, I have a pink. I wonder if we mix these two, can we make ourselves up a little purple? And you know what, there's one way to find out. Just do it. Just trying to clear some of the stuff off my desk as I go. So I haven't used this blue very much, so it's still got its kind of sealy top on, and I'm reluctant to take it off because I like it. Keeps it all nice and secure. I'll just leave it on for now. So let's mix this. Oh yes, that's giving us a purple, all right. Yeah, that's perfect. So again, let's eke it out a bit and then just start adding little bits on. Oh, I like that. Can you see how that's come up purple now? I like it. I like it a lot. So it's just beginning to bring all the colours in together. It's the first time I've mixed those colours actually. They work. Thank you, Lynette. They are fabulous. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Right, so let's bring this back in and see what we're going to do. We're nearly at the point of putting it all together. You know what I haven't done? I haven't done my ink around the edges. Hopefully I haven't. No, I haven't packed that. So I haven't packed my good old faithful, very scratty looking Stays On ink. This is my favourite ink pad. I love, love, love it. And I use it on pretty much every piece of work that I ever make. It's just, I don't know what it, well I do, it's the way it feels, it's the way it goes on, it's the smell. If you haven't had Stays On ink and you like the smell of marzipan, just get some Stays On ink. It's wonderful, it smells just like marzipan. So this edge, we've kind of gone over it with the paper, so we're getting a different reaction to the Stays On as we are to what we are with the rest of the edges, because it's got the paper which has got another layer on. Now I'm even going over the top of this a little bit. I've just realised we haven't shone that up with any of the paste, so I think we might need to do that. Oh, I'm really liking this image. I think it's brilliant. Now it's not quite dry, but you can see the paper that it was printed onto almost disappeared. You see a lot of the colours coming through, which is exactly what I was hoping would happen. Right, so now we have her little face there, nicely framed. We're going to have our flower on. This is about wonderment. So she's wondering about how, if she's dreadfully weak and gasping, seemingly unconscious, still the heart somehow went on. She's wondering all about that. And then we can have Victorian curiosities down here. Right, I'm going to stick all that together and see how we end up. I hear a pitter-patter of tiny paws, so I apologise for that. He's decided to have a wander. Bless him, he is a lovely old dog. Right, that's going to need a weight in it. Let me see. Are you weighty enough? Yes, you are. Something that I do quite often is actually use my bottles of things to stick, to hold things down as they stick. It's quite a good way of doing it. Now I want that to overhang at the edge because I don't want to, I want her face in the middle. Yeah. So with tacky glue it's just got, takes a little while longer to just grab on. So just hold on to it for a second. There we go. I'm actually going to swap to my MDF glue for this because they are MDF words. So I've got this nice big bottle of MDF glue, which I'm rather liking. These bottles are just brilliant, and the reason that they're so good and that I really like them is they're so easy to squeeze. Because I have a real struggle with some of my glues to actually get them out, and these are brilliant. They're so easy. Right, so we'll have wonderment that way. Then I'm going to use the excess glue off that on here. Squirt out a little bit more. In fact, I'm going to squirt it onto my hand and apply it with a finger. If you're new to watching me, you will have discovered that I get very messy when I'm creating. I don't like being clean when I'm creating. I don't feel like I've been effective. Even if I've made a lovely piece, if I'm not covered in all sorts, I don't feel like I've actually been effective in my creativity. I think part of what makes me happy creating is the mess of it. Victorian curiosities. Right, let's see if that has now stuck. Yes, it has. It's held down. Fabuloso. Now I have just noticed, because we haven't got any scruffling on here and we haven't got any in here, I think we need to add some in. I'm going to go with, there is a bronze one. Burnished it's called. I'm going to go with that because I think that's in keeping with the penny that we used originally. Very similar in colour to the penny. So we'll go with that. Where's my scruffly brush gone? Give it a dry and then get a tiny little bit. Again, we're not needing a lot for this because it's only a couple of small areas, but we're just going to scruffle it in a little bit like this, and I'm just going to dab little bits. I'm not worried that it's gone onto the paper behind, that's fine. You're going to see it on this, not on the paper behind. And for this, let's just add some little dabs of it in. Yeah, I think that is done. I'm calling it done anyway. So let me just do a quick check to make sure that I have followed the rules as set out by Dawn, and I think I have. Using the bits I've sent, create either a book cover or a journal page, so I've gone for the book cover. So what I would then do is put holes here and it would become a book cover for an art journal made with cardboard and the likes. You can use any mediums you want, but you must include all the sentiments. So I've included all 3 of the sentiments. Fabulous, I've done it. Yes. Right, thank you so much for watching me. Pop over and see Dawn on her Shiny Silver Treasures page as well, Facebook page, and obviously on the YouTube channel Shiny Silver Treasures. See what she does. So we have the same stuff, just different sentiments, and see